Election day, we need to ask one question. Do we want to live in a country where the poor and middle class are told to fend for themselves, or one where every American gets a fair shot? I know which side this president is on, yet the GOP is taking that chance away from the poorest among us. Republicans are looking to cut $33 billion from food stamps in order to offset Pentagon cuts. Policies like this are the reason that Catholic bishops are blasting the Republican House budget, saying it, quote, fails to meet moral criteria. But when asked about this today, Speaker Boehner wasn't convinced.
Do they have a moral argument, though?
Yes, but I want him to take a bigger look.
Maybe you should take a bigger look. One that asks everyone to pay their fair share, not just the poor. Joining me now is Congresswoman Donna Edwards, Democrat from Maryland, and Father Thomas Reese, a senior fellow at Georgetown University's Woodstock Theological Center. He joined other Catholic leaders in speaking out against drastic GOP cuts against the poor. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Father Reese, let me start with you. It might be obvious, but why did priests like yourself come out against these cuts?
Well, we're not naive. We know that the country is under economic constraints and that sacrifices have to be made. But these sacrifices should not be borne only by the poor and predominantly by the poor, which is what we have in the Ryan budget. He's trying to balance the budget and provide tax cuts for the wealthy on the backs of the poor, and that simply is not just. That's not a budget based on the gospel. That's a budget based on social Darwinism, on the thought of Ayn Rand, who was an atheistic philosopher who was anti-religion and said that we should just, be motivated by selfishness. Christianity says we should be motivated to help the poor, just like Jesus did.
Now, Congresswoman Edwards, when we look at the facts about food stamps, the program is really a lifesaver for the poor. Children, it is proven that it works and that it impacts 75% of its participants are families with children. It impacts children in a real serious way.
Well, I think that's right, Reverend Al, and what the Catholic bishops understand really clearly and what they've articulated is that the Republican budget eviscerates a social safety net, and that means nutrition programs that feed children and the disabled and the elderly. It means it ripping out from underneath people who are the most vulnerable, and this is completely against Catholic social teachings. And I'm glad that the bishops have come out and said, there is a morality to a budget as well, and this one totally fails the test.
Now, let me ask you, Reverend Reese, as you know, I'm a Baptist, you're Catholic, we're both Christians. Something confused me. Paul Ryan, who wrote this budget, in an interview last week, he said his Christian faith helped guide him in this budget plan. Let me show you this.
The preferential option for the poor, which is one of the primary tenets of Catholic social teaching, means don't keep people poor, don't make people dependent on government so that they stay stuck in their station in life. Help people get out of poverty onto life of independence.
Now, you and the Catholic leaders took a position against his budget. How do you interpret the theology that he just said in that interview?
Well, I'd like to ask him, how is he going to help the poor? By throwing them out on the street on their own? By cutting Pell Grants, which help the poor get an education? By cutting food stamps that help the poor eat? As Catholics, we believe that the government and other institutions have a shared responsibility to work together for the common good and to help people, to give people a fair chance to educate themselves and improve themselves. You don't do that by throwing them out on their own and abandoning them in the streets. You do it by giving them job training so that they can get work, so they can get a step up. This is what a real Catholic social teaching would direct us towards.
Now, let me go back to you, Congresswoman. Mr. Cantor says that the president is only interested in micromanaging small businesses. And then when you look at small businesses that's covered under his bill, they include companies with fewer than 500 employees. But that would include things like Paris Hilton Entertainment, or Donald Trump Towers Sales and Leasing, or the Los Angeles Dodgers, which just sold for $2 billion. There are a lot of companies under 500 employees, Congresswoman.
Well, and I think that, you know, this underscores the problem with the definition here. I mean, small businesses, I know in my congressional district and across the country, I mean, we really are talking about individuals, entrepreneurs, really trying to make a go of it, who need, you know, some stability and predictability in the economy. And they're hiring our neighbors. They're the mom and pop businesses in our communities. They're growing technology firms all across the country that really are going to be the base of innovation. And so I think when you combine, you know, that idea of small business with what's happening with the budget, it's really clear that Republicans don't understand that when we're all interested in building ladders of opportunity for success for people to achieve the American dream, the rungs have to be firm. Education with Pell Grants and student loans, nutrition programs, Medicare that's sustained and that is targeted toward our elderly and their health care. These are the opportunities that the American public needs.
Reverend Reese, Mitt Romney met with regular voters, and they told him not to cut education. He has hinted at doing so. They also say they don't mind paying more taxes. Listen to this quickly.
I hate to see any type of cuts towards education.
Most of the fat's been trimmed from those budgets. A lot of those costs are fixed that the districts have to pay the teachers enough to earn a decent wage and pay their benefits. None of us like to pay more taxes, but sometimes that's necessary.
It's a necessary evil.
Right.
I just wanted you to know, Father Reese and Mr. Romney's a big supporter of the Ryan budget, that the Catholic leaders are not alone. Ordinary Americans are raising some of the questions about the principles in the Ryan bill. Congresswoman Donna Edwards and Father Thomas Reese, thank you both for your time tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.